Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah. Brothers and sisters, it's my pleasure to share with you some of my thoughts on Islamic education or Islamized education. The first idea that I feel we should be clear on is the roots of Islamic education. What are we talking about? It is education which covers all aspects of life, because Islam is a way of life. So therefore, the education should address all aspects of life from the earliest time possible. Islamic education begins in the home. This is where it is supposed to begin. It isn't dependent on an institution, on a country. It is the right of every child to be raised Islamically. Their raising should be in Islam, in an Islamic cultural, social, spiritual environment, so that they grow up as whole individuals whose Islam is in fact a basic and intrinsic part of their worldview of life. So when we talk about Islamic education, we're talking about the necessary components for any person to understand Islam. Understand Islam as it is relevant to them today, as a doctor, as a cab driver, as a street cleaner, as a lawyer, whatever profession they're in. They should be Islamically educated to know how to fulfill or to practice their profession from an Islamic perspective. Islam should touch every aspect of their lives. Based on the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, in which He commanded us, saying, Qul, say, Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mamati lillahi rabbil alameen. This was His command to us, to live our lives dedicated to Islam. Say, indeed, my prayers, my sacrifices, my living and my dying are for Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. That is the, you could say, statement of the Islamic way of life, that all aspects are for the sake of Allah. So this is something that we need to inculcate in our children from the earliest ages. In the early ages, from the time they're born, ages 1, 2, up to 3, they will be Islamic or as Islamic as their environment. If the parents are praying, they will pray. They will imitate their parents. They'll do as the parents do. If the mother covers, the child will want to cover. She wants to look like her mother, unlike the other women around her mother who are covering. They will naturally do that. So that's the external. Once they reach the age of 3+, when they start to now question and they can start to understand things, then we continue their spiritual education by linking everything that they are required to do or not do to the pleasure of Allah. To the pleasure of Allah. You don't do this not because I, your father, am angry with you, or your mother is angry with you. We don't like it, but because Allah doesn't like it. This is something displeasing to Allah. You do this one, why? Because Allah likes it. This is something pleasing to Allah. It's pleasing to us too, but most importantly, it is pleasing to Allah. So we raise the children with a consciousness of Allah and the pleasure of Allah. What does that do? Well, the child will develop a sense of right and wrong which is not connected to mom and dad. Meaning, when mom's around, it's wrong to do those things because she'll get angry and hit us. When she's not around, it's okay to do it. Similarly with dad. So right and wrong becomes according to occasion. As they say, when the cat is away, the mice will play. So that's what they have learned. If we only hit them, scream at them, become angry with them over our own issues, they only see it as mom and dad getting angry. So what we have to do is avoid mom and dad getting angry. So these things which we want to do, we don't do it when mom and dad are around. But when mom and dad are not around, then it's okay. It's all right. But now if they are learning that these are things displeasing to Allah or pleasing to Allah, then they're going to do it when mom and dad is around or when their mom and dad is not around. Because they know Allah sees all, hears all, knows all. We've raised them with that consciousness. And of course, when they go into school, it is their right that they be placed in Muslim hands. They were raised in the home, 3 to 5, in Muslim hands. Their consciousness of Allah is being built. Right and wrong is understood, connected to Islam. Then we turn them over to who? Non-Muslims. Non-Muslims who have a whole different perspective on life, whose ideas are about dunya. Everything, education, everything is all focused on dunya, to give us success in this world. That's what's most important. God really doesn't have much role to play in all of this. So for us to do that is to spiritually destroy them. This is spiritual suicide, to put them in that environment. So they should be put into the hands of Muslims. We should have a Muslim school, an Islamic school, wherein their education can continue along the same principles and bases that their early education at home began. So when we talk about Islamic education, we're talking not about only Quran, Arabic, and Islamic studies. We're talking about education in general, which should be from an Islamic perspective. That's what we're talking about. That the child does not distinguish between the worldly and the religious. It's all one. All of it comes under the general heading of Islam, the religion which encompasses everything. So, as Allah said, وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. Allah taught Adam the names, knowledge of everything. Either this knowledge is now acquired knowledge, we're experimenting, we're studying, we're researching, and we find out things, but that knowledge came from Allah. Or it is divinely revealed knowledge. It's in the Quran, it is in the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad. It's from Allah also. All of it is from Allah. And they should understand in their course of study, knowledge is from Allah. It is one of the gifts, one of the, you could say, gifts which Allah has given, which each and every human being should be grateful for. So the whole process of education should follow in a similar way. After school, it should be university, which is, of course, Islamized university. That's what Muslims should have. But the point is that at least if we take our children to high school level understanding, they will have a much better opportunity or chance of surviving in the university, tertiary education. But if we haven't even taken them that far, they're graduating from the schools confused. They don't know who they are, really. Muslim, Islam, tradition, custom, it's just all confused. Then what is going to happen to them in university? They'll be finished, wiped out. They're already finished. It's just the job will be complete once they graduate from university. So this is what Islamic education involves. It begins in the home. It's continued in early childhood educational institutions, whether it's a nursery, kindergarten, primary school, on into secondary school, and should even on the tertiary level be continued. We should have our own universities. Not exclusive, meaning non-Muslims can't come, but our own universities with the same philosophy, the same goals, the same reasons for existence, to worship Allah in this life in order to gain paradise in the next. I hope this picture is clear, because this is what your conference is all about. Implementing this vision, this understanding, because there's nowhere else for Muslims to go. This is the only way. Barakallahu fikum. May Allah bless you all and give you success in this conference.